Developing an organization-level continuous monitoring strategy is important to long-term success with the RMF. With this strategy, system owners can determine the strategy for monitoring the controls at the system level, so it reinforces the strategy at the organizational level. The organization must complete a number of tasks to successfully develop this strategy. This topic will talk about those tasks and help you understand it better. This module introduces the organization-level continuous monitoring strategy. This is task P7, an organization-wide strategy for monitoring control effectiveness is developed and implemented in this task. Potential inputs include the risk management strategy, organization and system-level risk assessment results, organizational security and privacy policies. Expected outputs from this task are an implemented organization continuous monitoring strategy. Primary responsibility for this task is the senior accountable official for risk management or the risk executive function. Supporting roles include the Chief Information Officer, the Senior Agency Information Security Officer, the Senior Agency Official for Privacy, the Mission or Business Owner, the System Owner, the Authorizing Official, and or the Authorizing Official's designated representative. So you can see there's a lot of people that support this task. This task aligns with the following tasks in the cybersecurity framework. DECM, which is the Security Continuous Monitoring, and that states the information system and assets are monitored to identify cybersecurity events and verify the effectiveness of protective measures. And IDSC4, Supply Chain Risk Management, and that is suppliers and third-party partners are routinely assessed using audits, test results, or other forms of evaluation to confirm they're meeting their contractual obligations. You can see the main focus of this task is to ensure the controls and the requirements are working as they should be. So on to continuous monitoring. An important aspect of risk management is the ability to monitor the security and privacy posture across the organization and the effectiveness of the controls implemented within or inherited by the organizational system on an ongoing basis. An effective organization-wide continuous monitoring strategy is essential to the efficiency and cost effectively carry out the monitoring of controls. So in this task, really, we want to develop a framework that determines how often we're going to look at the controls and at what level we're going to look at the controls to ensure they're working properly and providing the correct levels of protection for the information system. Continuous monitoring strategies can include supply chain risk considerations. For example, regularly reviewing supplier foreign ownership, control, or influence, commonly referred to as FOCI, monitoring inventory forecasts, or requiring ongoing audits of suppliers. So when we're talking about continuous monitoring, we're not just monitoring the systems we directly control, but we also monitor those places that we contract or use third-party suppliers for. So we have to make sure those supply chains are monitored as well. The security posture, the implementation of a robust and comprehensive continuous monitoring program helps an organization understand the security and privacy posture of information systems. So by monitoring these controls in a continual basis, we can determine how effective they are and how protected the system and the information on that system is. Continuous monitoring facilitates ongoing authorization after the initial system or common control authorization. This includes potential for changing missions or business functions, stakeholders, technologies, vulnerabilities, threats, risks, and suppliers of systems, components, or services. So this ability to do continuous monitoring helps get an organization to a level of ongoing authorization. This means the system owner won't continually be in a state of getting ready for another authorization. In the past, authorizations were given with a 3-year cycle. And that means every 3 years, the system would have to go through the full RMF again. With continuous monitoring, as long as the controls are monitored and stay within tolerances, the information system can continually be authorized. The organizational continuous monitoring strategy addresses the monitoring requirements of the organization, the mission business process, and the information system level. So the CM process covers all levels of the organization and monitors controls at required frequencies and depths at all levels of the organization. The continuous strategy identifies the minimum monitoring frequency for implemented controls across the organization. It defines the ongoing control assessment approach. It describes how ongoing assessments are to be conducted. That is, addressing the use and management of automated tools and the instructions for ongoing assessments for controls which monitoring can't be automated. The continuous monitoring strategy will also define security and privacy reporting requirements, including recipients of the report. So the CM strategy not only defines how often controls are assessed and the depth at which that assessment occurs, but it also defines what reports look like and who those reports go to, and should also define the frequency that those reports are produced. The criteria for determining the minimum frequency for control monitoring is established with collaboration with organizational officials, including the senior accountable official for risk management or the risk executive function, the senior agency information security officer, the senior agency official for privacy, the chief information officer, system owners, common control providers, and authorizing officials or their designated representatives. The organizational risk assessment that we talked about earlier can be used to guide and inform the frequency of monitoring controls. That is, controls that are more risky should be monitored at a higher frequency than those controls that have less risk assigned to them. The use of automation facilitates a greater frequency and volume of control assessments as part of the monitoring process. The ongoing monitoring of controls using automated tools and supporting databases facilitates near real-time management for information system and supports ongoing authorization and efficient use of resources. That makes sense. We want to automate all of the controls we can. That way they can be assessed at a greater frequency and more controls can be looked at without an individual manually monitoring those controls. An automated system can provide alerts and recommendations to controls that fall outside of the range determined by the strategy. The senior accountable official for risk management or the risk executive function approves the continuous monitoring strategy, including the minimum frequencies for which controls are to be monitored. And once this minimum frequency is determined at the organizational level, system owners will be required to monitor at that frequency or a higher frequency to provide controls that are compliant with the risk picture of the organization. References for this task include Special Publications 830, 839, 853, 853 Alpha, 800-137, 800-161, IR 8011V1, IR 8062, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, and the CNSSI 1253. A lot of documents you can look at to help you develop an organization level continuous monitoring strategy that can be used by system owners across the organization to develop secure and risk compliant systems. In closing, we talked about task P9, its inputs and outputs, roles and responsibility, how it aligns with the SDLC and cybersecurity framework, how we deal with external supplier management, the security posture, ongoing authorization, the continuous monitoring strategy, focus, goals, and criteria, how risk assessment plays a part in continuous monitoring, automation of control management, and the continuous monitoring strategy approval. If any of these topics look foreign to you or you don't understand them fully, please go back and rewatch this video, and we'll see you in the next one.